What's going on, traders? We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the NQ, the triple Q, SPY, ES, Nvidia, and whether or not this is a dead cat bounce. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So already a lot of you are tagging me. You're foaming at the mouth. You got the baby oil ready. You got the rolls ready. And you're already excited that we're heading back towards the upside in the futures market. Me, I don't get it. I don't understand why we're excited. We only made like a 60, 70 point move on the NQ, but let's address it. All right. Let's address the possibility of us heading back towards the upside and even heading towards all-time highs all over again. Right. And so we're looking at the NQ for our time frame. And one thing we fail to realize is that we make lower highs, right? We make lower highs, we make higher highs, we make lower lows, so on and so forth. And so a lot of you are already getting excited off this upside that we're getting, but you fail to realize that this could simply be us making a lower high, right? Right here, we talked about this a few videos ago where we kept making these small lower highs over and over and over. And then here we made a lower low, and then here we made a much lower low on Friday. So we can simply be retesting the upside before we head back towards the downside all over again. So a couple of scenarios here. One, we can be looking at a retest of 21,800, 21,830, give or take, right at the top of the symmetrical triangle right here. And then we head back towards the downside. Another scenario we could be looking at is a retest of 22K. We broke below 22K. We never retested it. So we can definitely be heading back towards 22K. And then we'll have to see what happens from there. And then another scenario is we retest this trend line all over again at around 22,200, where we constantly been seeing that the NASDAQ has retested this over and over, and then we head back towards the downside. Now, it's important to note that we are illiquid all the way towards 22K. So this is a very likely scenario where we simply retest this before heading back towards the downside. But what would it take for me to lean towards the bullish side? Well, I think it goes without saying that we need to reclaim 22K. If we reclaim 22K, I will lean a little bit more bullish. I'm not going to be completely there, but I will lean a little bit more bullish. But in order for me to be like super bullish, right? I want to see us break this trend right here. Okay, this trend line. If we break above this trend line, let's actually get rid of this and like map it out a lot different. So if we get above this trend line right here on the NQ for whatever reason, maybe Nvidia earnings causes it, maybe I don't know, maybe Trump saves the day, who knows? If we can get above this trend line, break, retest it, and head and start heading back towards the upside, towards this level here at around 22,400, then I think the NQ is ready to start heading towards all-time highs, because one thing we saw across the market when it came to the ETFs is that the SPY and triple Qs was making new highs, but the ES and NQ were not doing the same. So that's what I would like to see if we're going to be bullish on the NQ, or if I'm going to lean more bullish on the NQ. I want to see us reclaim not only 22K, but reclaim this trend line right here, break above it or break and retest it, and then we start heading back towards the upside. And then at that point, I think we're going to gather enough liquidity to really break above this Jerome Powell sell-off zone. Now, in regards to downside, 21,650. All right, 21,650. If we head back towards that area, I think these bears are going to step in right here. All right. So let's get rid of this real quick. So right here is where I think these bears are going to step in. If we get back down here where these guys are, they're going to step in. Okay, they're going to lose their mind and they're going to step in. All right. So yeah, you don't want to head back down here. You break below 21,650, 21,640, give or take. Chances are you're heading towards 21,500. Lowest I'm looking at on the NQ, at least for the short term, is 21,300. Now we do have a bullish wicks here. We got a lot of bullish candles here, so it's very much possible that we could be looking at a dead cat bounce. Again, highest I'm looking at minimum is about 22K. If we're being optimistic, we could look at a move towards 22,200. But for now, I'm looking at about 22K. And so again, I mean, bulls are very much present here. I mean, you got a bullish wick here. Hopefully, you guys can see this. You got a massive bullish candle here, bulls here, a lot of bullish wicks in this area. So I do imagine that they're trying to step in. They're trying to hold things up, and they are the reason that the market is, or the futures market is starting to head back towards the upside. Again, I think it's way too early for us to be getting excited. Yes. Yes, you're looking at the same scenario. Again, I mean, you zoom in here and you see that there's a lot of bulls in this area, especially right here. I mean, this massive bullish candle. I mean, bulls are extremely present here. So it's going to take a lot for us to really, really break down. It's going to take some crazy news. And I imagine if anything was going to really break us down, it'll probably be Nvidia earnings. All right. I'm not saying Nvidia is going to crash or anything or, be bullish or anything, but I think that would be the main catalyst that would really like break us below these guys or even break us above these guys up here. So when we're looking at the ES, 6050, we reclaimed 6050. We're reclaiming it so far, so that is a good sign. We're also bouncing here. And so I do imagine if anything, we're going to reclaim, not reclaim, retest, sorry about that, retest 6100. We talked about 6100. 6100 was positive gamma territory, okay? And we broke below that. So that is a very bad sign. So if we are heading back towards the upside, I imagine we're going to retest this level, 6100, and then we head back towards the downside. So simultaneously, you want to see one ES reclaim 6100. That wouldn't really put us back in positive gamma territory, I don't think. Um, I think it'll be like 6150. I'll check another time, but regardless, you want to see 6100 get reclaimed, and you want to see NQ reclaim 22K, or at least that's what I want to see for me to lean more bullish. Once you get back in this zone, you want to see a break and retest, and then you can start heading back towards the upside. But there is a lot of turbulence here, guys. So I imagine we're going to need a major catalyst to really break above here. In regards to downside, I think it goes without saying, you want to get below 6,000. Okay, you get below 6,000, that's where things get bad. You get below 5,900, you're entering negative gamma territory. All right. You don't want to see that move. All right. We go to the daily time frame here. Okay. So we go to the daily time frame. And as you guys can see, once again, bulls are very much present in this area. So you really want to see us hold here. Bears are trying to push this down, but as you guys can see, we got a lot of turbulence here. So we're going to need a news catalyst for us to really break down. Will that COVID news that came out Friday be the reason? I don't know. Will it be Nvidia? I don't know. Okay, but you definitely want to pay attention to news. I think that COVID news is kind of FUD, honestly. As long as the US stays ahead of that news, I don't think there's anything to worry about, at least for now. But it's funny because we talked about it in the Discord like a few weeks ago. We were like, I think it's going to take a pandemic to really crash this market. And then we get COVID news on Friday. So I think that was pretty insane. We were laughing about that. But yeah, regardless, you definitely want to see a news catalyst. If you're bearish, you want to see a news catalyst and we break above below 6,000. In regards to upside, 6,100, you want to see us reclaim that, and then 5,900, and then lowest we could be looking at is about 5,800, and that will be our last line of defense before we start seeing some really crazy things happening in regards to the ES. All right, so we look at the SPY. Let's actually look at the triple Qs because we want to obviously do it in order, right? And so the triple Qs, you're looking at the daily time frame, you got this massive rising wedge. All right, this massive rising wedge here, right? And then you have this huge bearish engulfing candle, right? And so just because you see a bearish engulfing candle doesn't mean it has to play out right away. I say this all the time. When you see a bearish pattern, it doesn't necessarily have to play out right away. It may take a few days or so to play out, or it may not play out at all. But from here, NQ, I mean not NQ, triple Qs can very much see a retest towards 533. We talked about this level plenty of times before. 533 is a major level. You see, we retested here, and then we bounced here. So you definitely want to see us retest this level if you're bullish, and if you really want to be optimistic, you want to see us get above this level, right? You want to see us pretty much break and retest this level. If we break above 533 and hold, then chances are we're heading back towards previous highs, and then new highs will be on the table all over again. So in order for that to happen, I do think bears are going to, these bears right here, they're really going to step in. All right, these bears here, these bears here, these bears here, they're really going to step in if we get back in this area. So they're going to be looking for any type of bad news to come in. All right, if we just so happen to retest this area, I do think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So um, once we retest 533, I think a low risk trade on puts is very much on the table. You can set like a stop loss of 537 from there, because right here you want these bears to step in if triple Qs just so happens to head back towards the upside. Other than that, um, don't touch it at all. If anything, don't touch it until you reclaim 533 and hold. All right. Now, in regards to downside, all right. So the main level I'm looking at if we continue towards the downside is about 523. I think a bounce is very much possible from there. So right about here, because I don't think we're going to tank all the way into Nvidia earnings. That would be insane. That is very much possible, but I don't think we're just going to keep tanking into Nvidia earnings. I think we're going to get some type of bounce prior to their earnings, and then we'll have to see what happens on their actual earnings. So I do think we have a little bit more downside. 523 is what I'm looking at before we see some type of I guess for lack of better wording, rally back towards the upside towards 533. If we don't see that, move towards 523 prior or month tomorrow or whatever, then I imagine we're just going to simply retest 533 and see what happens from there. But again, bulls are very much present at that 523 level. That is why I'm mentioning that level. I mean, you got this bullish candle here, you got bulls extremely present here. So yeah, you definitely want to see this hold. If you don't hold this, then you're heading towards 518. Our main level that we talked about plenty of times, guys, is 515 on the triple Qs. You want to see 515 hold. This is your last line of defense before the triple Qs gets or things get really, really ugly. All right. You're going to want to oil up if you're bullish and you get below 515. All right. You get below 515 and you got calls. Yeah, you know what time it is. They don't know. The new viewers, they don't know, but you know what time it is. All right, so you don't want to see 515 get broken below if you're bullish. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for the triple Qs. SPY. Did I talk about the spy? Yeah, I don't think I did. 598, simple as that, guys. All right. We talk about this level all the time. 598, 600. You want to see the spy reclaim not only 600, you want to see it reclaim 602, and then we can start heading towards 605, and then possibly look at a retest of the 608 level right here. So, if we're talking about retesting the upside, triple Qs, 533, SPY, 608, 609, and then we possibly make some type of lower high here before heading back towards the downside. Another move you can be looking at if you're talking about all-time highs. I don't think I talked about this on the triple Qs, but if you're looking at all-time highs, possibly 616 if you get back above 610. All right. So this level right here. So we talked about this in the last two videos ago, right? Where we go back in time and all the way towards 2021, this blue trend line here is where I pretty much was saying this might be the top, right? I made a whole video about this being the top, and the next day we plummeted. All right, so that was a pretty crazy call out there. But yeah, if we're talking about this being the top, we should continue to see more downside from here. Obviously, there'll be bounces along the way, but if this is not the top, and I'm just wrong, um, I'll take being wrong. That's fine. I don't care. I mean, we dropped immediately the next day after that video, so I'll take that as a win. But if this is not the top and we're just heading back towards the upside, we can be looking at a move towards 616. Only if we get above 610. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I'm not. I'm not quite there yet. Can Nvidia earnings change things? I think it's very much possible that it changes things because a lot of the Mag 7 are invested into Nvidia. So that's what I'm looking at for the SPY when it comes to upside, downside, 598. You get below 598, you're heading towards 594. The main level you want to see hold is where is it? Where is it? Where is it? 589. You get below 589, you're heading towards this gap fill at 584. All right. I think this is going to happen this week. I think this 584 gap fill is going to happen this week. I could be wrong, but I think this is going to happen sometime this week. Maybe March. Maybe beginning of March, first week of March. I think March will make more sense if anything. So, a lot of you have been saying in the comments that you do expect this week to be bullish. I don't I'm not against that. All right. I'm not against that. I don't think any of you are wrong. I think I made that clear when I responded to a lot of you because I like to respond to the comments or as many as I can. I don't think any of you are wrong. I do think it's very much possible that we see a bullish week this week before we head back towards the downside. Now, whether Nvidia earnings causes that is very much possible, but I do think it's very much possible that we see some type of bounce this week. Whether it's a rally, whether it's new highs, I can't say for sure, but I do think a dead cat bounce, if anything, is very much possible this week before we head back towards the downside. So we'll say about March. Okay, this gap could get filled. All right. If it happens this week, then that's just a bonus on my behalf. All right. So that's what I'm looking at for the SPY. All right. Let's talk about NVIDIA. All right. Nvidia. We'll talk about the VIX in a bit because I know a lot of you traded the VIX based off my VIX videos. So congratulations to you guys. I didn't know so many people traded the VIX. That's crazy, man. So I definitely got to talk about the VIX more because I didn't realize a lot of you trade the VIX. So congratulations, man. That really helps. That really makes me feel good because I didn't realize so many people took the VIX that serious. So that's great. All right, but Nvidia. So a lot of things can happen here, guys. I think that goes without saying. I know a lot of you are gonna hate that I said that. Like it could go up or down, right? I hate I hate saying that, but we have earnings coming up, right? We have earnings coming up February 26th, Wednesday, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm not going to check, but yeah. A few things we could be looking at here for Nvidia. One, we can be looking at some type of inverse head and shoulders forming here. So, if you continue to head further down, you can be looking at a move towards 130. 130 needs to hold. All right, 130, if anything, needs to hold for Nvidia. So you got your, bullish candle here. bulls here, bulls here. You got bulls all in this area. So if Nvidia heads further down, I do imagine that these guys are going to want to step in. Right, you have this massive bearish engulfing candle here, so I do imagine that bulls are going to want to step in, and then we start heading back towards the upside, and pretty much liquidate this area back at around 137. Once again, 140. You just need to get above 140 on Nvidia, 141 give or take. I mean, and as you guys can see, this thing. I mean, these bears, these psychopaths, these killers, these guys are insane. Right, they do not want Nvidia, and now we have more bears. All right, so now we just added more bears to the forest. All right, we added more. I don't know where the bears live, forest. I don't know, but woods, forest, whatever. We just added more bears. There was already bears here, bears here, bears here, bears here, and then they just gathered up and they just started a ritual all over again. They're just it's insane. These bears are absolutely insane. So again, Nvidia needs to beat earnings, and I mean like really surprise for their earnings to really just crush these guys because these are psychos. These are I don't know what these guys are, but this is insane. These are killer whales. These are giant squids. These aren't even bears anymore. They evolved. All right, these are a different type of species of Pokemon. So I don't know, man, but yeah, 140. You just really want to see Nvidia reclaim 140, 141, give or take, for me to even remotely become somewhat bullish on this thing. Until then, I can't help but be bearish. But again, I mean, you can form an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. It's kind of ugly, but your neckline would be at around 142, 143, give or take. But again, bulls are very much present at that 130 level. You need this 130 level to hold. You fail to hold this 130 level, chances are you're heading back towards the low 120s, 119, and you really want to see 120 hold, if anything. All right. So we go to the weekly time frame here. You have this massive, and I mean massive, rising wedge here, guys. I mean, you bounced here, right? You bounced here, you bounced here. So that's a solid trend line, right? So you guys know I don't make this stuff up. You rejected here, you rejected here, rejected here. And I will say that you didn't get a third touch up here. So 160 is very much possible. Now we look at quant data here, because you guys like when I go over quant data, even though you say every single thing is hedging that I point out, instead of just going with it. So we look at quant data and let me see if I can find them in time. Hopefully, I find them quick. But we were talking about 128 puts. Yes. Oh, right. Yes. First click. All right. So we were talking about 128 puts for March 21st, right? So you guys see here, February 21st, that was this past Friday. Institutions loaded up on Nvidia puts for March 21st at the 139 strike. So these are very much in profit. We got into these trades as well in the Discord. We took profit on it before the weekend. So we took profit at around 134, 135. So congratulations to the Discord members. But as you guys can see, you got 500 premium. Let's scroll over a little bit. They were at the ask, by the way. So you got 500 premium, right? 200 premium, 139 premium, right? And you got a lot of these 128 puts. This is a 125 put, by the way. But you scroll down and you see more of these. You got 130 puts, 130 puts, 128 puts. I mean, you keep scrolling, you see 128. I mean, and the premiums, guys, look at the premiums. They're insane. 100K, 90K, 80K. Highest is like 500K, right? So I don't think this is hedging. I don't think this is hedging because Nvidia dropped right away. A lot of you are saying like hedging on OPEX and things like that, and I'm just like, no, it wasn't hedging at all for OPEX. That was an absolute landslide. Puts outweighed calls by a mile, miles actually. So, 128 puts. You definitely want to watch out for these for March 21st. Will this happen for Nvidia earnings? I can't say for sure, but yeah, there's a lot of these. I mean, a lot. You got 125 puts, 128 puts. You got 130 puts right here. I mean, 126 puts, guys, and then you got a few calls trickling in, but the premiums are really low for these calls. But yeah, 140, man, it's going to be a fight. I think this is another spike here where there's more 128 puts. I could be wrong here, but I mean, if Nvidia breaks below 130, then it's going to it could get pretty bad. I mean, you got again 128 puts for March 21st with a 200K premium, and then you scroll over. In case you're new to this channel, you scroll over and you see the various institutions in these trades. So it's very much possible, right? It's very much possible. Now, if Nvidia really surprises for their earnings, then those guys will probably get crushed. But I would like to see this move happen before earnings, this 128 move or below 128. I'm thinking 125 is possibly the lowest we can go. And if anything, I mean, if we break 125, then obviously we're heading towards this fair value gap at around 120. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But if you break above 140 somehow on Nvidia, then yeah, chances are you break and hold above 140. Let me correct that because a lot of you tag me and you're just like, oh, we're above 140. Start to buy calls. Like, no. You want to see a break, retest, hold, and then chances are we can head towards that 163 target that I talked about if Nvidia is leaning towards the bullish side. So that's what I'm looking at for Nvidia. All right. Right now you closed at a dark pool level at 134.43. That is your dark pool level. You break below 134.43, chances are you're heading towards 128. All right, 128. It's going to be some turbulence at 130, but 128 is your next major dark pool level on Nvidia. All right. So that's what I'm looking at. All right. That's what I'm looking at for Nvidia. Again, you got those a lot of 128 puts coming in. You got a lot of and the premiums just are crazy for those puts, all right? But yeah, you definitely want to pay attention to that. Another someone else pointed this out to me, and I saw them, but I forgot to mention it in the last video. NVDL. This is the ETF for Nvidia. So if you want like to invest into something cheaper than Nvidia, you're dealing with double leverage, but this is also on the table. NVDL. So this is the ETF for Nvidia. In case you are new, a lot of the Mag 7 has their own ETF. In case you guys don't know that, so NVDL 50 put strike, 50 put strike, and what was the date for this again? February 28th, this week, expiration this week. NVDL. This is the ETF for Nvidia, guys, and this premium is insane. It's a 600K premium, right? You got a 600K premium, and then the rest of these are like 1K premiums, but this is pretty insane. This came in on Friday, guys, so you definitely want to pay attention to NVDL. Maybe you're investing into NVDL instead of Nvidia. That's fine. Do your thing. But yeah, that's pretty worrisome, especially considering where NVDL is. NVDL is at 60 right now. So a move all the way to 50 is that's pretty scary. All right. I will say that NVDL can, I'm tired of saying that. NVDL can very much bounce from here and fill this gap at 72 prior to Nvidia earnings. And historically, semiconductors do run into Nvidia earnings as well. So, yeah, that would be an insane move. So you're talking about a move towards 72. Let's do the math here. Let's not do the math, but let's look at this here. Let's say you let's say you bounce from here, right? Starting in tomorrow. You start heading towards this gap fill at 72. And those 50 strikes come into play. Let's say Nvidia just crushes earnings. You're talking about a move all the way back down here. A 20 point move back towards the downside, right where these guys are. And this area is very illiquid, so it's very much possible. Okay, it's very much possible. Do not doubt this move at all, guys. I know you're gonna say it's hedging or whatever the case may be. You guys love using that hedging word. You think everything is hedging. That's fine. But yeah, this is very illiquid, very illiquid. So very much possible. Now it can happen prior to Nvidia earnings. That's very much possible as well. But that would be an insane move. So if you're looking for a cheaper play, I do think they're probably cheaper contracts versus Nvidia. That's something you want to look into. Am I saying you should trade it? No. Do what you want with this information. But yeah, that's 50 strike is insane. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for Nvidia. Last but not least, I want to talk about Tesla, and then of course I got to talk about the VIX. I completely forgot about the VIX. Tesla. So I think Tesla's in an interesting spot here. So there is a gap. Someone mentioned this in one of my videos, saying there's a gap towards the upside at 400. So hear me out here. Hear me out. Hear me out, guys. Boom, boom. Okay, hold on, hold on. Bear with me. Bear with me. Let me cook. Boom. Hold on. All right. Hold on. Hold on. Boom. Boom. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, very much possible. Are we looking at a double bottom here? A potential double bottom where we head towards 330. We know that 330 is a major level. Lowest we can be looking at is about 325. Have a bottom here. Your neckline is at what, 367, 370, give or take. Start heading towards that gap fill. You guys let me know. I just want to go over that real quick. VIX, because a lot of you are trading the VIX. I don't know if it's because I talk about the VIX all the time or you guys been trading the VIX, but if it's because of me, thank you for taking me serious when I talk about the VIX. I kept mentioning this over and over. I made like 5 videos talking about how the VIX could spike from this area. So I'm glad a lot of you took it seriously and didn't sleep on it because a lot of you slept on it and you were like, you swore up and down this was hedging. All right. So, um, yeah, the VIX. I think we have a little bit more upside. A move we could be looking at is a retest at around 17.440, not 40, 440, 40, 17.4. Okay, 17.4. You look at a move there, and then possibly, I mean, the lowest you'd be looking at is a move back towards 16.5, right? Now, the VIX isn't like something that follows traditional movement, so take this with a grain of salt, but you'd be looking at a move like this, and then you head back towards the upside. You see some type of spike for whatever reason. But yeah, VIX not looking too good. Like I told you guys in our Discord, we do have an alert showing that institutions are in 29 calls for the VIX. They're also in 23 calls. They're in 17.5 calls. They probably took profit on those 17.5 calls, but yeah, 20 calls as well. So there's a lot of calls. Let's actually look at the VIX on quant data. I'm sure a lot of you clicked off by now, but um, for those of you who are interested in the VIX, I cannot talk. Let's look at the VIX because I didn't look at it for Friday. Yeah, you got a lot of spikes here. So let's look at some contracts because a lot of you do trade the VIX, right? So let's look at some contracts and see what's going on here. Nope, clicked on the wrong spike. Don't ignore that. All right, ignore that. Those premiums are like $800. You're not getting anything out of that. All right, I clicked on it the wrong one again. So at this point, I'm just chatting, guys. I'm just chatting. All right, so feel free to click off. All right, so the spike right here. Let's check this spike out. Let's see if institutions are in anything crazy here. So 37 calls for June 18th, 15 puts for March 15th. The premiums are very low for that. So let's look at this one right here, 600K. Yeah, 400K, 37 calls for May 21st. That's pretty far out. Could be hedging. All right, that's one situation where it could be hedging. All right, a lot of you just call anything hedging. It could be an expiration of February 28th, and you guys are like, that's hedging. Like, what? All right, May 21st, 36 calls, 3.65 million premium. March 18th, 20 calls, 51K premium. March 18th, 20 calls. March 18th, 20 calls. So, yeah, a lot of March 18th calls. All right, so you definitely want to check that out as well. The 20 calls for March 18th. If you are going to jump into these positions, treat them as hedges. All right. This is one thing you do treat as a hedge. This is not something you look to profit off of. This is something to bet against the market. All right. 24 calls. Let's see, 2.47 million.